Howdy, Justin from Justin Jokes here. Doing something a little different this time. Thought I would bring you into some of my writing process. I have under 200 subscribers. I can do whatever I want at this point. Um, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, welcome. You're also happen to finding the first impromptu video I've ever done on the channel. I mostly do jokes, just set up punch stuff, which we'll get into in a moment. I realize I've neglected the channel a little bit in the sense I don't really have an about me kind of video. I'm planning on a more thorough one perhaps at some point. But for today, I was thinking that I would go through some of the jokes I'm working on now. Maybe you've never written a joke before. Maybe you've never seen anyone try and work out a joke, the thought process behind it. My thing is, I write a bunch of jokes in bulk, and then I record them all, and then I try and release one per day in like batches of around 100. So you can check out the shorts section of the channel for more on that. And I know nothing about the algorithm or marketing myself at all. So I have some like in the videos tab and some in the shorts tab. I'm just trying stuff at this point. Hey, if you have any suggestions for me, let me know in the comments. But yeah, good to be with you. Feel free to turn off the video now if you're not interested in getting kind of deep into the joke writing process. I have 10 jokes that I pulled that I'm, in the middle of working out. This is kind of how like the sausage is made, I guess. It's not exactly a Netflix special going on here. This is the raw materials that have yet to be refined. That's only going to interest some of you, so I don't take it personally if this is not of interest. So that's my preamble. Again, due to my lack of traffic on the channel, I do want to provide a small context. So I've been writing for around 4 years, very more off than on, but I took I had a friend that thought I'd be decent at stand-up. I dismissed it right away, but the seed was planted. It kind of grew. I started studying it, read all the books that I could, tried to write some on my own, had some success, wrote a couple great jokes, great for me. And I'm like, wow, maybe I can do this. And you can be the judge of that by looking at the shorts and videos I put out. But yeah, I then took a class at Dallas Comedy Club. It was good and had a couple of live audiences. I wouldn't say I've ever killed, but I haven't bombed. And that's really the only live performances I have. Life has been kind of chaotic, so I haven't really committed to a performance schedule yet. That's something that's constantly on my mind, trying to work out. I'm now in the Austin area, so at least one move was involved. Really, two moves were involved, but anyway. So that's another hill I have to climb. But life is multidimensional. Every area of your life needs attention, some more so than others, and whatever. Excuse, whatever. But I do hope and plan to make a more concerted effort to get out there and get on stage as soon as possible. But it's because I take it so seriously that I am waiting so that I can commit to it and, really give it my all. If other things are distracting me, it's not even worth it. Yeah, I mean, that might be a limiting belief, but you're gonna have to take my word for it, I guess. So I started this channel because no matter where I went, I could always write. And I write a little bit every day, whether I like it or not. Once you get the comedy brain and joke writing brain, app installed in the noggin, then ideas just start flowing at red lights, taking a sip of a drink, whatever. You have to whip out a notepad, or I use a notes app, Google Keep. It's cloud backed up, so that's why I like it. Just jot the idea down and develop it later. But I really have a big preference also for headline jokes, and I won't elaborate too much on that. I'll just declare that and leave that there. You can let me know in the comments if you want more context on that. This preamble has been long enough. Finally, I just want to shout out my 10 favorite comedians so that you know where I'm coming from. So Jerry Seinfeld, and this is in order. Sorry, I'll go from, spoiler alert. So I'll go from 10 to 1, my top 10. So Dusty Slay, he's great, modern comedian. Number 10. Number 9, Stephen Wright. Number 8, Mitch Hedberg. Number 7, Rodney Dangerfield. Number 6, Don Rickles. Number 5, David Spade. Number 4, Demetri Martin. Number 3, Dennis Miller. Number 2, Norm Macdonald. And number 1, Jerry Seinfeld. This is a mix between, who I like and who I actually think is the greatest. Kind of a lot of factors going into all of them. For instance, I do think Jerry Seinfeld is the greatest writer. Just he's a great comedian. Period. He's funny, whatever. But he's also I admire the writing part of his persona. But then you have Norm Macdonald, and he's the reason I got into this. He was a big inspiration when I first started writing jokes. So he'll always be, he'll always have that accolade, even though he's in the number 2 slot, whatever. And Dusty Slay, I think he's like the best modern comedian of the new generation. Yeah, I just like the way he writes jokes and flows through his bits and all that. So Dennis Miller has the Black and White special, which is the greatest comedy special ever. Go watch it if you haven't. And he's just brilliant. And Demetri Martin is a recent entry. I had, I can't watch everyone. There's a lot of comedians out there, and he kind of slipped through the cracks of my research. So he's a recent entry, but I really like him. So anyway, that's a little bit about my taste. So moving into the actual jokes, again, I'm telling you, this is not for the faint of heart because these are undeveloped, and I bet you probably haven't seen a video like this because why would anyone ever do something like this? Put their jokes out there before they've been refined. But I just want to, just in case you're curious, and I'm just trying stuff out. I don't know who's going to see this again, but just forewarned, these are not finished. But, you can gain an insight as to where me, an amateur comedian, is coming from with my writing. So, for instance, I have a first joke here that I'm working on. The largest, and these are all headline jokes. Yeah. Again, just for brevity, that I've chosen 10 headline jokes. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to throw full monologue jokes at you, full stories with 3 acts and all that. So anyway, let's get to it. The first one is the largest known genome has been discovered. They're calling it a G-dwarf. Right. So what I like to do is I try and keep the headline as unaltered as possible. And I subscribe to a magazine and Science News. And what I did is I downloaded a bunch of issues, and I downloaded them and I uploaded them into a chat GPT, and I said, give me, 100 headlines or whatever. And summarize them where needed. And then so I have a nice list, and then I can use the list it spits out rather than downloading a PDF, going through one by one, it just does it for me. That's what AI is for. So I'm happy to hand that off. But yeah, anyway, yeah, this is an actual headline. So the largest known genome has been discovered. It's called a G dwarf. I don't think this is bad as is. So I'm just thinking out loud here, but you want to consider like the use in your set for each joke. Like you never know when you're going to need it or want it. And a lot of the reason I like headline jokes is because they're set up punch, and they can be throwaway jokes. They can be whatever. And the more you have in your bag to pull out in between, big bits, the better. And you can tell by my influences. I like kind of the, not exactly one liner, but the set up punch, the kind of oldies kind of formula, not this long stories era we're in. That's just my style. And I got to honor my style first. And I recommend anyone who tries to start writing jokes, write what you would want to see, Don't try and emulate. Anyway, yeah, so it's called a G dwarf. I figure I'm joking about dwarves being larger than gnomes in the height hierarchy. Um, it's 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 short. It's and they say brevity is the soul of wit. You want to always keep your material tight and no wasted words and all that. The largest known genome has been discovered. It's called a G dwarf. So pronunciation is important here. This is definitely not like an opening joke or a closing joke. This is like somewhere in the middle. Because you want to keep your stronger jokes up front and in the back. Up front so that you grab attention, in the back so that when they leave, they remember that from you. So how did I think of this? Yeah, I thought about what a large genome would imply. Like, what is it? Does it mean large? What does large mean? A large genome is still very small. And does size matter within the genomic ecosystem? Does a bigger genome mean more intelligence? What does that mean? This is sort of where my mind was going. And then I was thinking, you want to heighten and exaggerate. If again, this is something that I struggle with, but like you want to take it to the extreme. Like, what would a building size? Well, that's kind of ridiculous. So then I start going back down. Okay, size. Oh, gnome. Okay, like dwarf. That's it. So G dwarf. That's how I came to it. One note here is that the great Adam Bloom, he wrote a comedy book recently, and I'm blanking on it. I have it nearby. I'm not going to search for it. But he had this observation, which is very valid and very insightful, something that I recognized during my writing but failed to articulate, that rhythm is important. So here we have the largest known genome has been discovered. It's called a geodwarf. So the rhythm is that there's more in the setup than the punchline. More syllables, more words, more going on. And that's what you want. You want like the punchline should be in general smaller. Again, all rules are made to be broken. It's like Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like these aren't really rules. They're more like guidelines. Break them if you need to. But Adam Bloom observed that the badonch in comedy, like the corny thing when you make a joke, dadooch, that thing, It's actually 1, 2, and then 1. Da-da, ch, 2, 1. So in that very cliche sound that represents comedy, the clue is there that the setup is 2 and the punchline, the ch, is 1. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, it's just an FYI. And rhythm may sound like pointlessly aesthetic as a criteria for judging a joke, but if you start writing, you'll understand, I think. Um, so let's move on to joke number 2. Apparently, some bacteria can survive in space. I hear the astronauts are double masking under the visor. So there's a few things going on there. I hesitate to call them advanced, but there was a bit of an act out with the lean in. Shout out to David Spade for that inspiration. He does a lot of emphasizing at unexpected moments. That's what I kind of learned from him. And he's the king of elegance and style within the bit, outside of the setup and the punchline. So tags and throwaways, he's the GOAT of that, in my opinion. Really underrated. But anyway, so apparently some bacteria can survive in space. That obviously was not the news headline word for word. So in that sense, I changed the setup a bit. Again, these are works in progress, but I hear the astronauts are double masking with the lean in, making sure people understand what I'm saying with the COVID reference. And then, if there's under the visor, just to emphasize, now they're under 3 layers. So, this is not the punchline is really good in my opinion, but I think it could be worded better, and it's sort of eluding me the ideal wording of that. One thing I was considering was I hear the astronauts are double visoring. I really like that too. I might go with that. I'm just thinking out loud that I want to bring Fauci into this somehow, or Pfizer. There's a lot of tangential things I could bring in for a potential tag or something. But yeah, I like that joke. I like where this joke is going. It needs a little bit of work, but it's perfect for what it is. Just a quick hit right there. This one's a bit of a stretch. It's kind of uncool to preamble your joke, I guess, but it is what it is. So here's number 3. Researchers say the world's largest coral may be longer than a blue whale. They call it the golden coral. That's a corral joke. So, in scene, it all depends on the tag on that one. That's a corral joke, golden corral. The world's largest coral, it's number 1, so it gets gold. It's golden coral. Sounds like golden corral to me. They call it the golden corral. Makes sense. Only weakness is that it doesn't involve the whale directly. I'd love to bring that element in, but it's, again, eluding me at the moment. I think the golden corral angle is strong. I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if audiences know what a golden corral is anymore. If the attempt to pair corral and coral together is strong enough. I have my doubts about this one, but you got to start somewhere, and I think it's a good start, at least. Number 4, researchers may have found a hidden ocean under the Earth's surface. It is not under the Palisades. Um, I think the like the story of this joke is good. You know, they had just had the fires, R.I.P. And you know, a hidden ocean under the wildfires would have been nice. It's not under the Palisades. Just kind of a dark humor joke a little bit. I have not in all caps. I don't know if this is going to be effective. It is not under the Palisades. If you're reading it, it doesn't look funny on paper. I think I'm like 90% sure I need to reword that into something else. Now, you know, a technique is that you, like, how do I put this? There are many ways to say one thing, and you can often add a lot to a joke by saying the same thing, by inputting slang or restructuring the sentence or whatever. And I know that sounds really obvious, but sometimes you think you have a punchline, and then you realize, like, there's the word yeet or riz or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I can, like, you, or like bring in 90s slang or whatever, and just restate the joke in the same sentence in a ridiculous, exaggerated, comedic way, silly way. See if it has any punch to it. Um, so you keep the raw material. It is not under the Palisades, but you can add slang, whatever. That as it is, it's serviceable, but that's about it. It's not, doesn't have any much ornamentation. So again, just working on it. Number 5, scientists have discovered a way to reverse aging in mice. Introducing Stuart Littler. This is not amazing, but not bad as just a decent thought. I like to at least have a decent thought on paper, and then I can whittle with it. Um, but yeah, I was thinking like Benjamin Button, um, who's immortal, like searching Google or asking ChatGPT, what are some famous figures that are known for living a long time or aging backwards? And I got a list, and I saw Stuart Little, and I'm like, Stuart Littler, because he's, you know, going back. And I was thinking like something like Methuselah or something, but that wasn't strong enough as a punch because you don't want to just have sheer age. Like someone living long. This isn't about living long, it's about living backwards, reverse aging. I know that's not what it literally means, but you want to play with the word reverse, or at least that's what my mind tells me. So it's not enough to allude to an elderly like entity. You want to allude to an entity actually aging in reverse, and then you want to combine it with mice. Stuart Littler is not bad, I think. Yeah, so it's something to work with. All right, number 6. A new test could spot Alzheimer's earlier. A new test could help spot Alzheimer's earlier. I think that one's obvious, kind of a meta joke. Again, it's decent. Kind of people probably see it coming. I don't care that much because it's effective. I don't really know what I'll do with this one. Um, so, like I'm just thinking out loud again. A new test, the word new test. So, what would like a wacky, silly, comedic test be that has to do with memory loss? And make brainstorm on that. Um, or I like the word could. A new test could spot Alzheimer's earlier. Could sounds like very general. So it's the exact same thing as saying a new test could not spot or may not spot Alzheimer's earlier. Um, it's like it's very. It doesn't really say much, so you can play with that. Number 7. Unlike males, female mosquitoes are the skin piercing, blood sucking, disease spreading agitators, and somehow still only get half the credit for twice the swats. So I kind of fumbled that delivery a bit. I'm not going to get hung up on it. There's something in comedy called the rule of threes, and this is not what that is. But I figured I'd mention it here. So I do skin piercing, blood sucking, disease spreading agitators. So that is, of course, not the exact headline. So I reframed it. And, the rule of three applies to the punchline only. But, even in general, three is fine. Like three characteristics. 1, 2, 3. There's like a build up. And three's not too few, not too little to get the, not too few, not too much to get the point across. And somehow still only get half the credit for twice the swats. I really like this line. I think it's very strong. Um, there's that phrase, women get half the credit for twice the work as men. So I'm kind of poking fun at that. And when it's females that are actually the ones that bite and do all the harm, the article says that the males just prefer to just suck on nectar. I'll leave that to your imagination. And only bite when desperate. So it's 99% of the time, it's the females that are the troublesome ones. And I have a note here that says tag, something about hookup culture. I was thinking, like, when the nozzle of the mosquito is going into pierces the dermis, the skin, and they start sucking your blood, and it's the females. So I was thinking, like, they're hooking up. They're literally hooking their snout or whatever into the blood. So that's like hookup culture with mosquitoes. Again, I don't have this developed yet, but I didn't want to lose that idea. I think that's a strong through line. Just the female bad behavior. So number 8, a black hole woke up and started devouring a star. Scientists call this the Blake Lively effect. Coined by renowned astrophysicists Thomas Blake and Adam Lively, I assume. So there's some acting out there. Yeah, I have a lot of black hole jokes. I'm running out of angles, honestly, to take with them. So this one was a big challenge for me. I'm playing on the word star. For those who don't know, Blake Lively is in a bunch of, trouble. I'll let you do the research on that, but it involves Taylor Swift and Justin Baldoni in some movie, whatever, false allegations. I don't know the details. I just have seen it around. And people are going to think, oh, Blake Lively. That makes sense. But then I have that tag, Thomas Blake and Adam Lively. I like that a lot. And I think this is really strong. It's present in the culture. Devouring a star, like she's tormenting those around her. She just wakes up and torments Taylor Swift or Baldoni or Ryan Reynolds or whatever, because they're in her proximity culturally. And then and then with the tag I subvert expectations. And in science there's like, the blah blah, based on the scientists who found it. Anyway, I think I like that one. I think it's very close to being done. Um, all right, here we go. The oldest known tadpole has been discovered. Hold my beer, said Al Pacino's tadpole. This is, I'm not a roaster. I don't like poking fun. I know it's like, there's a lot of comedians that's their whole purpose. That's their sole desire in life, to roast. I don't have a roasting bone in my body. Unless we're friends, then I can roast. But roasting, like, even roasting to power, like they call that punching up. I don't know. I feel yucky when I roast. Whatever. We all have our gifts. Roasting is not one of mine. But anyway, that doesn't mean I'm immune from it entirely. Some may or may not know that Al Pacino in his 80s now had his first child, I think, or had a child. So tadpole, sperm, blah, blah, blah. Has to do with life developing tadpole. I'm playing on that. It's pretty obvious what I'm doing, I think. Um, Hold my beer, topical phrase, everyone will get that. Um, I think this joke is pretty strong. Something is bothering me about the rhythm, but not enough to discard it. Um, there's something that's eluding me in the setup. This is all very intuitive, subconscious. I don't know what it is, but something is telling me it still needs to be worked on in some way. I just can't identify it right now. But I think this is very strong. All right. So, last one, number 10. Ancient Egyptians had a secret recipe for mummification. Coincidentally, they were also known for their unusually flavorless brisket. I think this joke is okay. I'm trying to connect the unusually flavorless brisket to like mummified remains. I don't know if that's coming across. It's like a secret recipe. And then I bring up, coincidentally, they were also known for unusually flavored brisket, aka mummified remains. I don't know if that's connecting strong enough. This is probably my weakest one on the list, but I still think I like it. And this is one where the punchline is actually stronger than this, or sorry, not stronger, but like there's more information in the punchline than the setup, which is which counteracts that first point I made. But yeah, again, there rules, there's no rules. So, how would I work on this one? Ancient Egyptians. So obviously you have the entire Egyptian like pantheon of the gods could be involved because they're involved with the afterlife and mummification, preservation. I could attempt to roast some of the pharaohs, and maybe there's some wordplay there. You want another tool is to ask the who, what, where, and why. Like, well, who would benefit from discovering the secret recipe for mummification? That opens some ideas, Zuckerberg, big tech secret mummification experiments going on. I don't know. And why was it secret? Well, what's the difference between the secret one and the public recipe for mummification? Because did we already know what it is? Now there's a secret recipe. What's with that? So there's a lot of angles here. Yeah. You really just have to look inward, examine your style. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of angles here. Secret recipe, like you could do like grandma's cooking, you know, it was mummy's favorite, stuff like that. I don't know. That's kind of a go-to. And anyway, yeah, again, lots of angles here. This needs to be worked on a lot. So we made it. Um, Let me know in the comments. I will only get better with feedback. I'm in a room alone writing these jokes. More feedback, the better. Just try and be constructive. Cuss me out if you want to, but just be constructive if you can. I'm trying to learn. I just want to share these things. Let me know if you like this format. If you want me to go over more of my jokes. I've read about every comedy book um, there is, so maybe I can go through some of those. Adam Bloom's book is fantastic to start with if you're interested. Feel free to email me, look in the description for everything. And yeah, hopefully check out some more of my jokes if you're interested and give me feedback on those. I'm just looking for feedback, man. I want to get better as a joke writer, and I can't do that in isolation. And my friends are really getting annoyed because I write so much and I send them this, undercooked material, and they're starting to think I'm not funny anymore. So help me out. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. Have a great day. Bye bye.